Yeah, it's very interesting. I think it'd be good to get a few more pieces on the table now, and we can eventually we are going to get to Peter Van Inwagen's consequence argument. So um, let's look at determinism versus indeterminism. So as concepts, how do determinism and indeterminism influence our perception of free will? And can free will coexist in a universe governed by deterministic laws, or in a universe with inherent randomness? So I'm aware we're now going to be taking things as concepts rather than stances, but yeah, I'll pass it back over to you for that one, Joe.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think again, I think that that's a really good question, especially in light of what I was just talking about, because there's, I think there are some misunderstandings of determinism, common misunderstandings of determinism. I mean, one thing I'll mention, I haven't gotten into yet, is just the difference between, I think Wilfred Sellers called it two different kinds of predictability. The terms he used are logical and epistemic predictability. And so, on one definition of determinism, which I would call like semantic determinism, um, you define the concepts in terms of propositions. So you've got like, you know, propositions about the past, and then the laws of nature, propositions. And then the determinism is the thesis that if you had like a complete description of the world at a given time, together with the laws of nature, it entails all other all other future truths. But the um, and then this is equivalent to a kind of abstract predictability, like logical predictability, meaning, well, in theory, if you had access to those propositions, then you could formulate the prediction. But there are all sorts of reasons for thinking that that the epistemic predictability, the actual making of predictions, um, can't be complete in the same sort of way that logical predictability is with the thesis of determinism. There doesn't seem to be anything inconsistent about the thesis of determinism. But if insert an agent doing the predictions, because the agent becomes part of the system that the agent is predicting. The easiest way to see problems that emerge is if you just think about, like, well, okay, so you can have one completely omniscient being in a system. Well, why not two? But then the second one could work to try to thwart the predictions of the first. Um, so it's easy to generate kind of paradoxes, with this notion of epistemic predictability, meaning, um, you know, just because determinism is true, it doesn't mean that we're going to be able to make predictions of future human actions. Uh, there are people that appeal to like Gödel's incompleteness proof, actually, to sort of rule out a kind of epistemic complete predictability. And there might be some sort of debatability with respect to that, but the main point I'm trying to get at here is that a lot of people confuse determinism with the idea of complete predictability, like creating a facts of life book that tells you how your future is going to play out. But there's no reason to think that determinism entails that. So there are some fears about determinism, misconceptions of determinism, I think, that result because of misunderstandings about predictability and exactly what would be the case if determinism is true. And then on the other hand, again, I think for indeterminism, a lot of what is motivating the need for indeterminism really does, I think, come from this idea that something like the consequence argument is doing a little bit too much work. But we can slow down with respect to that, and I think showing that the same sort of worries, like which I tried to illustrate with the rollback example I was using about the iPhones recently, that the same kinds of worries might arise even in an indeterministic model. I think, and this is sort of what I want to get at, is I do think that there was a problem that we were trying to get at when we got at the problem of, trying to get at via the problem of free will and determinism. But it wasn't the problem of free will and determinism. There might be actually a bunch of other kinds of problems like predictability and free will, or that kind of hover around there that we sort of confuse. But then the other flip side of that is we think we can make the problem go away by getting rid of determinism, right? And then just like somehow indeterminism is going to magically contain free will. But really all it does is just remove the problems you thought were there because of determinism. But if I'm right, and the problems are not because of determinism, if they have a deeper source, then you're not really making any progress. But you've kind of added a much more complex system. You're dictating kind of like the natural order of the world, and it must be a certain way in order to accommodate free will. This is when my pragmatist hackles kind of come up, that I think we've just gone too far, like with arguments when we want to sort of impose a structure, a metaphysical structure on the natural world to accommodate the way that we are. I think that we should try to find a way that we are that accommodates our understanding of the natural world. I mean, that seems like a better way to do it.
If you enjoyed this clip, then head on over to Locals to access the full conversation right now. Supporters can access the video version, and everyone can access the audio-only version of the conversation. I'll see you over there.